Hi, my name is Courtney, and you are watching The STEM Spark, where curiosity sparks creativity. Welcome to our very first episode. Let me start with a bold statement. I believe everybody is a genius. Now, that may sound like a stretch, but once we dive into this content, I think you're going to agree. Everyone is wired differently. We all have unique talents, strengths, and ways of thinking, but I truly believe each of us is brilliant at something. So, as I said, I'm Courtney. I am a teacher through and through. This is my classroom. Welcome. I have spent over 13 years in the field of education, mostly in elementary, a few years teaching adults, who, by the way, can be just as challenging as the littles. The past several years, I have been immersed in the world of STEM and STEAM education, and I love it. I find such joy in helping others learn, helping others discover how they're smart and how their brains are wired, and seeing those light bulb moments that we all have at some point along the journey with certain things. And man, that's what lights me up too. I get so on fire about those things. So, my STEM journey started after I took a break from teaching. A friend told me about a program called Starbase. And that is where my true STEM journey started. That job opened up and it allowed me to come back into the world of teaching. And it just really opened up this world of STEM. I've always done STEM content, but I didn't even know, like, there wasn't language to call it STEM until I guess more recently. But so STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's also called STEAM, which the A in STEAM stands for art. And honestly, I don't think you can really do STEM without the art component. But for the purpose of this channel, and because my job is a STEM teacher, not a STEAM teacher, I'm just gonna call it STEM. But we will talk a lot about that art and creativity component. So these days, I teach both elementary and middle school STEM. And honestly, guys, it's amazing. I love seeing what kids can do when they're given the tools to just explore and create and really be imaginative. I think that it's kind of one of those lost arts of being creative, right? And so, I love giving kids the time and the space to just be creative. So, why did I start this channel? I still ask myself. I've had this idea for a long time. Friends kept telling me, oh, you should start a podcast, you should do YouTube. And while the idea excited me, it also felt very overwhelming, and I don't know that that's going to go away super soon, but I am jumping in, and here we are. So I created this channel, the Sim Spark, to share what I have learned, to spread my love of teaching and of STEM, to support teachers, parents, students, honestly, anyone curious about how to bring more STEM learning into their lives or the lives of students or children that they interact with. So, when I started teaching STEM full time, I had a hard time finding resources that connected everything together. So, I didn't want just a science lesson or just an engineering lesson. I wanted content that just showed me how to bridge all of those things into an integrated and accessible way. And so finding that kind of content that merged science, technology, engineering, art, and math was hard. It was challenging, and I could find bits and pieces, but it wasn't super obvious or super accessible. And so my goal is that this show fills in some of that gap. And so I'm going to share a quick story just because I love being a teacher and I love the classroom. One of my favorite classroom moments. So I was teaching in Arizona. It was a fourth grade classroom, which don't tell anybody, but maybe my favorite grade. But we were in the middle of a math lesson. And in this classroom, I had worked really hard to develop a culture of just being okay with getting the answer wrong. And making mistakes are just a part of learning, which I've carried with me throughout my whole career. Like this, and STEM really lends well to that kind of environment. And so I wanted a space where kids didn't pick on each other for not knowing the answer, where we can all embrace the mentality that we're all smart at something and my something may not be the same as your something. And so we had developed that. It was a very sweet group of students, a very cool classroom. And one day I was in the middle of a math lesson and asked a student a question about the lesson. And y'all, he had no clue. He didn't even have a guess. And so he looks at me and he's like super serious. And he's like, pie. It was so funny. Like, he was not meaning pie as in the number pie, he was meaning pie like the dessert. And we all cracked up. The whole room just had a little giggle fest. It was great. It was such a good reminder that learning can be joyful and relaxed and a little silly sometimes. And it's also okay not to know the answer. And so I just love that. I think about that moment quite a bit. Okay, so who is this channel for? This channel is for teachers looking for classroom ideas, strategies, tips, projects, etc. It's for homeschool families that want to bring STEM into their homeschool routine, and maybe it's just not as accessible, or you just don't know how to do that quite as readily. And so this is for you, parents, caregivers, tutors, babysitters, anybody who works with students, kids of all ages that wants some fun projects to do, or some accessible and easy to get materials to do experiments, or I'm going to do reviews on kits and sciencey things. And so I think that all of those people will enjoy that. And then, honestly, curious minds of all ages who just love to learn. I think you will find something here as well. If you work with kids, care about kids, and you're interested in helping them explore the world through STEM, you are in the right place, my friend. And I'm so glad you're here. All right. So, my hope is that you'll walk away from each episode with a renewed sense of wonder and curiosity. I want you to have practical tools and tips and projects that you can use right away. I don't want it to be something that you have to really struggle to change and adapt. There may be some changes and adaptations you need to make for your particular students or group, but hopefully it's super seamless and simple. An appreciation of how STEM shows up in everyday life is one of my goals. And then my favorite, because this is near and dear to my heart, is low prep, low cost ways to explore science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And so I want you to have accessible ways to incorporate STEM, because I have had to work really hard to find those kinds of things. And so hopefully this is something that you're going to find super beneficial. All right, so some episodes are going to be more informative. Some will be playful and creative. Many will include projects and ideas for the classroom and for use with students, and things you can try right away. So hopefully you will find something super beneficial from this channel. I am going to be organizing into recurring series. So I'm going to go through the different series that I have planned out. We may throw some out or add some in as we go along this journey, but these are the topics so far. So, STEM at home, and this is not just at home, but it's just using everyday materials that you can find in your home to do simple experiments and things. So, that is going to be hopefully super accessible to homeschool tutors, caregivers, babysitters, and teachers alike. It will be beneficial. We are also going to do a what if series. So this is going to be your more creative component. So we're going to explore questions like, what if we lived on Mars? What would that look like? How do we discover what Mars is like? How do we apply that to our life, and what would need to change? And so thinking about that with kids, and that can develop into research, it can develop into projects, it could go a lot of different places. Another option for series, or that I'm considering doing, is real world STEM. So connecting everyday things like roller coasters to science and engineering, and giving you some background on those kind of topics, and then projects on how to incorporate this with your learners or your students. And then the next series I would like to do is STEM career chats. So another series I would like to do is STEM career chats. So interviewing other professionals. It could be a teacher, it could be a STEM career professional. Just talking about how is STEM involved in their job. What do they do? How did they get there? Is it fun? What kind of learning goes into it? And so those types of things. And then Classroom Chronicles. So this one will be geared mainly to teachers, homeschool parents, tutors, etc. And this will be teacher tips, stories, ideas for educators, strategies, those types of things. Another STEM series is going to be STEM toy reviews. So I don't like calling them toys. In my classroom, I call them tools, no matter what they are. And but they're marketed as toys. They're sold as toys. So we're just gonna call them toys. But honest reviews of products, kits, resources. Are they worth it? So we're gonna dive into some of that, and then one of my favorites, STEM book talks. So I firmly believe in the power of a read aloud. I think even adults should listen to books. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I think it's just a good skill to have, to auditorily process that information. I think it's great for students to hear somebody else read aloud, and we will do that. I will give you a read aloud, and then I will give you some project ideas for those. And so I'm really excited about that. I do love incorporating that literacy component into what I'm doing. So, when to expect new episodes? I am going to do a new episode every week. So, once a week, I will publish a new episode. It will be 20 to 30 minutes, just depending on content and things like that. I will settle on a release day soon, so it will come out the same day of the week. So maybe every Wednesday. And that way you can kind of build it into your routine, whether it's your commute and you want to just listen, your prep time, or just a quiet moment at home. It'll be released on the same day so that you can kind of do that and have it accessible. All right, if you made it this far, thank you. I love that you're here, and I am really excited about the content that I'm going to get to share. I really hope that you will like and subscribe to the STEM Spark so that you get episodes when they are released. Share it with a friend, a fellow educator, a parent, any STEM enthusiast that you think is going to benefit from this content. And stick around as we explore this wide, wild, wonderful world of STEM together. This is Courtney, and you've been watching the STEM Spark, where curiosity sparks creativity. Bye.